Welcome, friends, to the Someone Gets Me podcast. I am your host, Dianne A, and I am so delighted that you're here. This podcast was created because I believe there is a visionary leader inside each one of us who is waiting to be seen. In each episode of Someone Gets Me, you will hear useful tips from successful visionaries who will share their stories about how being seen has allowed them to take their vision out into the world with action.
Change is good. An exciting conversation with Chris Eveland. I am here to tell you today, everybody, that we're going to have a great show. So welcome to Someone Gets Me. And I have a really good friend of mine. He's in Canada, and we all know how much I resonate with people from Canada. So we're going to have so much fun. Chris is a guitarist, and he's a great, amazing musician. Wait to hear some of his music. We'll put some links in the show notes for you. But today we're going to talk about the power of change, going after your heart's desire. You know, that burning flame within us that wants to take us forward. And some people cheat themselves because they say no the whole time. But Chris said yes. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks so much for having me, Diane. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy that you're here. I think there's a special gift that musicians bring to the world. They help the culture move forward in a positive way. So I'm really glad that you're taking the time to be here today.
Thank you.
So share a little bit with everybody about kind of who you are. Well, I said you're in Canada, but have you always been in Canada? What's going on? A little bit about who the man is behind the music.
Yeah, sure. No, born and raised for sure in Ontario, but I've moved from different cities for different jobs and things. I'm close to Ottawa now. But yeah, I've been passionate about music my whole life, from a very early age. I got to see my grandfather, who was a piano tuner, take pianos apart and tune them, and I could observe it. And then he would sit there after they were tuned and just make the most beautiful sound out of this big wooden box in his house. And I just became very interested in what was going on there. And I just felt different. When he did that, I was a feeling that I had as a youngster. I was like, that feels good. And he would just sit there in his glory and, close his eyes and play away. And it was just something that I was drawn to. So that was my first real exposure to live music. And then as things kind of just progressed, I just haven't looked back. I haven't stopped learning. I'm still a student. I've been at it for 35 years. I constantly learn with it. And I'm just really passionate about what I do these days.
So is there always some form of music going on in your head?
Always. Yeah. Even if I'm hanging out with my wife and my hands on her shoulder or whatever, I'll start doing a little bit of this. She's like, what song are you playing? And I'm like, what do you mean? And I don't even notice it, but if it's coming up on a gig, maybe it's a band I haven't played with and I'm running through the songs, just kind of subconscious, like the hand will do that, or I'll start strumming a bit and she picks up on it very quickly. But yeah, there's always something going on.
Right. I had Walter Reyes was on the show a while ago, and he said musicians think first in music and then they translate into their native language.
Yes. Oh, that's well said.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, I think that's true more than people realize.
Yeah. And there's a really exciting part is when you're new to it and you're just learning. A lot of times when you're with your instrument, whatever it is, there's a lot of thought process, right? Because you're learning scales, you're learning chords, you're learning the songs. So when you're learning, you're in your head a lot. When you get to the part where you don't have to think as much and you can just play, it's more of the thinking is gone, like the thought process in the moment, and it's more of a feeling. That's when things get really exciting.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that's true. Because once you're out of the beginning learning curve anyway, I mean, we're always learning, but then the flow gets to happen. Just like when you watch professional athletes, right? They're just they're just in the groove and they're not worrying about where they're going to step next. They already know the answer to that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I never thought of it that way, but that's true. That's very true. I love that. So you mentioned that you've had other work that you've done and that you've done other things with your life. Even though music's been the passion all along, and then now you're doing music full time. So tell us a little bit about what that was and how you made the transition into actually following that heart's desire of yours.
So I was a factory guy. I worked at Ford Motor Company. So I was in the factory building cars for Ford Motor Company. I started young. I think I was 21 when I got a job. So I was very grateful to get in there. It was a great job, great benefits. It was union. It had a lot of positive things. But I still remember walking in there at 21 and then seeing people in their 40s or 50s. They didn't look as excited to be there as I did coming in, right? Because we were all excited about the paycheck and the benefits, the time off and training and all that kind of stuff. After a couple of years or sooner, whatever, you realize real quick, this is my day. Like, this is a 12-hour shift. You go in when it's dark, you come out when it's dark. And I'm not being negative about it, because there's a lot of people that go in and, they do what they got to do. And I did what I had to do. I'm grateful for my time with Ford. I got to travel and provide with a family and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But after after about 10 years, I was like, because I was so passionate. I wanted to perform. And then there was a friend of mine that sang on Canadian Idol. He did really, really well. He got third place. And we had the opportunity to record an album, release it on Sony BMG. So it was with the label, got to play some big shows. And then that really initiated something like, I'd much rather be doing that than this. But it was pretty hard to do that, when the kids are 5 and 6 and 7, and, like having a stable job with a stable income, made way more sense than, going out with music in the unknown and the uncertainty, right? You'd have a really good month, but then the next month, if a couple gigs canceled, it's very, very challenging parts of the business end of it. But I started playing more. I started playing out. I started playing with a bunch of different bands. I started playing with different tributes. I've always played from like 17 on, but it wasn't until, a little bit into the Ford years that I started to fall in love with traveling with bands and then touring. And, it just came to a point where I'm on my second marriage. I've met someone, and we've been married for a while now, and seeing her career and her flexibility in her hours, it made me think, maybe 7 days a week in a factory, 12-hour shifts. Maybe there's more I can do, right? But at 21 years, I'll be honest with you, it's 30 and out. So you do 30 years of service and you have a full pension, and away you go. So now people talk about golden handcuffs. I was thinking, I only have 9 more years. I can have full pension and leave. But I don't think I have 9 more years in me to give to a company that, to one of those automakers, we'll put it nicely. So I made with a lot of support from my wife, a huge decision to leave. Mm-hmm. And, I was so fearful, so scared. It's like, I can't. And it took a while. Right. And it was a long distance relationship, and we tried a little bit back and forth, and it got to the point of, it's got to be something, right? And I didn't want to lose what we had found. And she just kept saying, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And as scary as that was, I decided to leave, and we got together, and things changed pretty quickly. Like, that fear went away of like, okay, the first year was a big change in income, obviously. But then the second year was like, okay, things are getting good. I got my real estate license as well. So we partnered up. So that was a change of career after a long time in a factory to switch.
Wow. Yeah.
Get into real estate in a city that I didn't grow up in, right? So I didn't know a lot of people. But then I just started reaching out to musicians like, hey, if you need someone, I can help fill in. And they would call me. I'd show up on a Friday, play a gig with them. Did a couple of bands here and there, whatever, a couple duos, started hosting an open mic. And then, I went to an audition for an ABBA tribute band out of Ottawa, and it's a 10-piece band. Great people involved, just really, really good people, and a lot of talent there. And I ended up getting the position, and that band now, I think, is 6 or 7 years in, and it's touring all over North America. We go to the West Coast Canada, the East Coast, we alternate, and we come down to the States as well. Not North Carolina, not where you are yet, but upstate New York and everything else. So yeah, it took a little while, and there was some growth there, but now, like, when I see old buddies at the Ford plant that want to go, they're like, how did you do it? Or what did you do? There was no magical. I didn't have anything on paper. I didn't have like a plan. I didn't have anything like that. Yeah, it was just like my wife said, we'll figure it out, and I jumped on and away we went. And you know what? We have figured things out, and it keeps growing, and it's just amazing. I don't regret it at all.
Doesn't sound like you did. So I'm wondering, I want to go back a little bit here. When you mentioned about when you started playing live and on stage and things like that, the way you said it made it sound like you kind of you loved music all along, but in that you got bit by the bug, the performing bug.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how that happened. I just think that that's amazing.
Like the first live performance?
Yes. Like when you came off stage and your adrenaline was probably really high and you're like, I'm doing a lot of this.
Yeah. So I think it was in high school. There was remember that whole Chernobyl? Mm-hmm. All that stuff. So there was a fundraiser for that at the St. Thomas Memorial Arena. And I was in high school, probably grade 10. Or 11, and I was doing a placement, but the co-op placement that I was lucky enough to get involved with was in a recording studio. So I was already playing guitar by that time. I went into the studio for, I think it was the whole afternoon, every day of that week, every day. Yeah, I think it was 5 days a week. I got to hang out in the studio, and back then it was cassette to cassette. So I got to see, all the reproduction and the copying, and then how everything's recorded, mixed down. I got to be a fly in the wall in the studio, but I was also changing strings and, doing whatever. And there was a gentleman in there named Dan Rivard who was recording an album. He's probably 10 years older than me at the time. So if I was 16, he was 26 recording an album. And then he heard me noodling in the, like just playing some licks and stuff in the console room. And he said, hey, look, I need a solo on this song. Do you want to try? And I was like, I'd love to. I'd never been, I've never recorded, never done the process. So I went into the booth and it was exciting. But I was so, low self-esteem probably and all those things. Like, I'm not sure. Here's all these older guys and then the one guy in the studio looking through the glass like this. But I had some fun. I did some silly stuff. I did my thing. And then he ended up liking it and said, hey, I've got a few more songs. Would you like to add some guitar to it? So now I'm like, this is super exciting at that age. And I think it was the owner of the studio had something to do with PA systems or whatever, but he was putting on that benefit for Chernobyl. So this would have been 91, I guess, maybe.
Right.
And so it was at the arena, and that was my first gig. And it was just like an acoustic trio with Steve Pike, I think, was a player that was with us. So the three of us, an acoustic thing. And it was funny because we played Freebird. And at the end of Freebird, you know how it picks up?
Yep.
And I think my mom was at that show, and she said something like, oh, that Freebird, it was really nice and pretty, but of course you guys had to speed it up and rock out at the end. I'm not sure if she knew it did that in the original song, but that was the first taste of live. But anyways, that band turned into an original band that played at my high school. My high school had a massive theater with like 400 seats, like it was 2-tiered theater. So when we played on that stage, then we got to play the rock and roll stuff. We played all of our favorites at the time. And there was a bar owner, because that was a fundraiser. And then the bar owner from Eddie's in St. Thomas was at that show. He came up to us at the end and said, hey guys, I need a band next Friday to open up for a Canadian band called Harem Scarum. Are you guys able to play? And we were all like, what's happening? We just went from that event to like this theater in the high school to like opening up for one of my favorite Canadian bands ever, Harem Scarum. So it happened very, very quick. And then from then, it's just, you're following that gig constantly, like,
Oh, that's amazing. I love that story. It's like I race sailboats. And so we talk about that with sailboat racing. Like, once you get the adrenaline or the experience of it, it just bites you. It's like you're stung by a bee and you're just on it, forever.
That's all it takes. Yeah.
It only takes that one time and then we're gone. So I wanted to hear that. That is a great story. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the things you've done for your personal development and your personal care to make it through all this transition and stay healthy and aligned while you're doing music. Because, a lot of musicians have difficulty with life balance and have difficulty with just living a life that can work in both arenas. So share a little bit about what you do for your own wellness and your own self-care.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm huge on that now because another part of the Ford plant too was there was a lot of people there that, addiction is huge in those kind of places. And I fell under that umbrella while I was there. So I was lucky enough to get some help and go to some beautiful places that taught me some life skills that I wasn't, for the most part, I wasn't aware of a lot of the mindfulness and the awareness and CBT and all those things that I spent a lot of time working on myself to not go back to that. And, it's worked out great. So I'm a huge daily meditation kind of guy. All the self-help stuff, just walking, being outside, as less screen time as possible. I journal. My attitude is gratitude. I'm all about gratitude. So that put me on a journey as well. That's leading me into my next, even though I'm into real estate. I'm just finishing up graduating from a college and landed a position as an addictions counselor as well. So I'm super excited about that chapter. So I know this is about change, but everything keeps changing. But now it's all about balance. And you said that musicians have every musician I know at the end, when we're all tearing down our gear, we all say, oh man, I need a couple of weeks off. And, I just don't feel like doing this. And then the phone will ring or you'll get a text saying, do you want to play tomorrow night? And we're all like, yes, right? We all say yes because we're afraid to miss the gig. Maybe it's FOMO. But yeah, and that's just part of it. So, nutrition, meditation.
I have goosebumps because several of my really close friends who are musicians are also addictions counselors, because I was one of the people that helped them do it, because I've been an addictions counselor for musicians and athletes and artists now for 40 years.
Oh, amazing.
And that's how my career started, actually, was mental health and substance abuse work with musicians and artists and athletes. Okay. And so when you said that, I'm like, well, of course. And so it's so funny because, in fact, the one person I'm thinking about is in California, and he told me, he goes, you're inspiring me. Help me do this. And now I'm also helping him be more of a spiritually based mentor for people who don't necessarily want to do the therapy route, but really need somebody in their corner. So I'm teaching them how to do mentoring things, which is a bit different than counseling, but I think that's great. I'm like, of course.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. Like, what are the chances? Yeah,
I know, right? That is amazing. But I really think it's important. And what you just said is you're demonstrating that you're following your passion as it unfolds. And so we can have the same core, want to serve and help and do cool things. And it can come through music or counseling or real estate or a good phone call or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that people could really benefit from letting themselves let things emerge and grow rather than always staying on the same thing. Like your friends in the Ford plant. Yeah. Part of the problem is people get stuck on that railroad track and then they don't they don't let themselves bring the rest of it out. So they get miserable.
And it's fear that holds us there. That's what's fear that held me there. I could have left a little bit earlier, but I never did. And it's just, well, how am I going to eat? How am I going to pay bills? How am I going to do this? But abundance, it does come. It does come. It's a very scary change. In my situation is different. I wasn't on my own. I had someone that was there to support me, love me, take care of me, all that kind of stuff, right? So I had a pretty soft place to land to be able to be given that opportunity. But I am so grateful for it that it did happen, because even though I'm at the age, I just turned 50 and I think I could have retired at 52. So I'm looking at it going 2 years, I could have been full pension, right? But then I'm like, but the last 7 years I've traveled to England with a band. You know what I mean? I've gone over North America traveling. I've done a really cool recording, projects with some people that I've really looked up to over the years. And
right.
I wouldn't give that up for a second for any kind of pension.
Right, because you're following your heart and you're living in that creative space. So I think that's amazing. But I think I would be doing that too. I'd be looking back going, man, I would be if I did that,
Just a numbers, you're like, oh man, right? But I got a pension in a sorts from them or whatever. But it's a different now. I used to wake up to the alarm clock all like 4 a.m. to travel because our plant closed in St. Thomas, opened up in Oakville. That's about a 2-hour drive or an hour and a half. So every day we'd get up, drive an hour and a half, work a 10-hour shift, sometimes 12, drive an hour and a half back. It was literally empty out your lunch bag, have a shower, go to bed, wake up, fill up your lunch bag, go back. Like that was it. And that was every day. That was it.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's not sustainable
at all for anything. It's not healthy for ourselves. It's not healthy for relationships. It's not healthy for any kind of family dynamic. And as far as social goes, there is no social, right? I would have time to mow the front yard and then and then the next day mow the backyard. And then, you know what I mean? It was never a full project or anything. As far as like going away on tour with a band, there's just no way that could happen. So super grateful for my days.
Oh, that's amazing. So do you like to tour? Do you like to travel?
Love it. I still love it.
What's your favorite part?
I think it's we just did a trip out to BC, and it's cool doing it now because my wife's a part of the team. Like she does the catering and the booking hotels, and she does the screen behind us. So she's a part of the team, which is cool. I'm not leaving home for 2 or 3 weeks, right? Like she gets to be part of it. So I would say my favorite part is like when we get there, I love walking into the theaters and just seeing one for the first time, when it's empty and you get to walk around and do all that. I love that, the behind the scenes stuff. But for me, it's seeing new cities. Like I would never travel to some of the cities that I've seen or witnessed or experienced if I wasn't in music. It just wouldn't be on the list. You know what I mean? There's some of the bigger cities you would do, but it's the in-between stuff and meeting people afterwards at the VIP or, sometimes with the other bands, maybe not the ABBA, but there'd be house parties or something afterwards. And, you'd go and just interacting with people that are just passionate about music. There's just something really, really cool about it. Like just traveling, going to England, that was wicked. We flew there, landed, played, had a couple bands on the same bill. And it's just that brotherhood, sisterhood, that whole, you could fly across the world and meet someone in a band that's playing before you or after you. And it's just, you give them a hug, you're like, hey man. And it's just this, you can really identify with their passion,
Because their passion and your passion like come together. So there's this synergy that explodes. Sure. And like you said, you could be on opposite sides of the world, but when you come together, that passion just still sees itself
it's unbelievable.
in each other, right?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that. So what kinds of things do you like to do for fun?
Well, I have 2 bulldogs at home. I'm a big dog person, and these bulldogs, they're the best personality. I've had Great Danes, I've had pugs, I've had a few different breeds, and they're all amazing. But the bulldog is something special. It's just like having the 90-year-old grandfather sitting on the chair all day, and every once in a while you got to get him out to move his legs and then bring him back. But they're the sweetest little things. I love spending time with my family. The kids, obviously, any chance I get to hang out with them. And still, even though I tour, play, I teach guitar, all that, I honestly, the most meditative thing I can do is come into a room and put on a backing track and just pick up a guitar. Now I'm not learning songs for the show. I'm not teaching people anything. I'm out of the thought and I'm into the feeling. And I love recording songs. I love everything about the music end of things.
I love it. I think that's wonderful. And you teach music too. You teach guitar, right?
I do, yeah. So when the world shut down there for a little while, online lessons became quite a big thing. So I jumped in with the Canada Music Academy, which is a really good organization, and they farm it out, right? So I would just get emails saying, you have someone in British Columbia that wants a lesson, then someone in Saskatchewan, Ontario, whatever, all over the country. And then at one point, I think I had, with them and privately, I had 75 students when the world was shut down. So I was busy teaching online and just loving it. I've had to dial it back a bit now, but I do mostly remote or online lessons with people. I do have a in-home studio. I'm in Smiths Falls, Ontario, that I can teach in person too. But I don't even call it teaching. I call it sharing. I just share what I know, right?
Right. So you're kind of being this mentor who's got the experience, the knowledge, the expertise, and you're sharing it with them as more of a mentor, which I think to me has a much more profound effect.
Yeah, I agree, because it's when I see someone, I'll hear their thought process on something. I'm like, oh wait, I spent a year doing that. Don't do this. It's this and this. Don't worry about that for right now. Let's just focus on that. And then when you see the light bulb go off or the passion, you're like, for real, it's just that? I'm like, yeah, try this. That just saved them a while for, I was a slow learner too, probably, but like 10 months of working on something, like, oh my gosh, it's just, if I just did this, right? So I love those moments with the students that have been playing for a while. Yeah.
Right. Those light bulbs go off and it's like, oh, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's absolutely great. So what kinds of things are you working on now? You got the ABBA experience. Is there anything else that you're working on?
So the ABBA experience is up and going. That's just out and is booking up for the year. So it's great. We're doing theaters and festivals and all kinds of cool stuff. I'm also involved, for the first time ever, I'm involved in a country band called Fireball. And that's with 3 really good friends of mine that they're all part of the ABBA experience as well. But we're going out. We've done 3 or 4 shows now under that. And the country is just a different thing. Like when you start it, people get up, start dancing right away. I'm not used to that. Rock and roll is a little different. Some of the disco and I've done an Elvis tribute to Roy Orbison. I performed in a few different ones. Mm-hmm. But the country is a different animal. Like it's a really cool thing to witness and be part of. There was a learning curve and continues to be as a player. But that's fun. Fireball is a really, really good one. I'm in a duo with my one of my closest friends back home, John Millis. We have something called Rail City Route. So on Spotify, we've got a couple songs out there that we've written over the years that we're just starting to add onto there, just to have a home for all these songs. I love playing with John. I always have. And writing with him, it's just super easy. But yeah, and then my own stuff. I'm doing my own originals, and yeah.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit about what inspires you when it comes to writing a song. What kinds of themes do inspire you, or is it just kind of anything?
No. There's always something. Like sometimes if you pick up the guitar, a riff will come or a melody will just happen, right? So that's not really. It just comes. But right. There's. Like on for my own solo stuff, I did a song called Moment in Time. And that was something I wrote during a divorce and during a time when, separating not only from that, but from the kids. You don't see the kids as much as you used to. So the lyrics are, hey, it's just a moment in time. Like this is what's going on, but it's just a moment in time. It's just kind of like this. That was very much inspired by me trying to process, like the world feels like it's falling apart, but it's just for this moment.
Right.
And that helped me through that. And my son he wrote a few lyrics on it too, which is really, he didn't know the depth of because he was 10 or 11 at the time, but Connor helped me with that. I have an instrumental that I called Within, and I'm so happy the way this one turned out. I recorded it with Randy Orr at the Powder Room Studios in Brockville, and Randy was great to work with. But within, to me, is just like a mantra. If you don't go within, you go without. Yes. And one of the best sayings I've ever picked up on my journey is, my outer experiences are a complete reflection of my internal condition.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So, yes, right.
Absolutely.
Right. If we're good on the inside, our outside is usually pretty good too. If we're not good on the inside, then all this is messy. So within is something that I would use as just a little bit of hold on, within, go within, don't react, make a conscious response, all those kind of things. So when I recorded that, I just wanted to call it Within because there was no lyrics to it. It's just an instrumental. But I was lucky enough to get Forrest Williams from Big Wreck. He played drums on it, which I was so happy about. And then Gary Lalonde from Honeymoon Suite played bass. So when I got the bass and the drum parts together, here's Gary from Honeymoon Suite, great Canadian band, right? Big Wreck. I love Ian Thornley. I love everything those guys do. 2 bands that I grew up listening to, and now here's 2 of those guys. And then when I heard it, I didn't want to play guitar on it. I wanted to leave it like that, just with those, because the groove, like Forrest plays a little bit like a Bonham kind of, it's really organic. It's really alive. He's a great drummer. And Gary played some of the most melodic bass lines on that thing. I just remember sitting in the studio listening to it over and over again, and then jokingly, like, but I didn't want to touch it. I just wanted, can I leave it like that? I still have a version of just the two of them, but
I was going to ask you that. I was going to say, you saved that version, didn't you?
Yeah, but it's one of these. Like, if I back when I was, 14, 15, if, I had two cassette tapes. They were Van Halen's 5150 and Honeymoon Suite's first album. So if someone said, "Oh, you're going to record a song with, somewhere," I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It just seems so, not tangible at all. And then when it did, it's a pretty cool moment.
Oh.
But so when I was playing that instrumental, I went within, and I've heard some compliments with, I think it was Jim Irons, our drummer in SOS, that said when he heard it, he goes, "I thought it was going to be all this, like acrobats and guitar flurriness." And he said, but it wasn't. It was very melodic. And he said it sounded like someone was singing the guitar instead of like too many. Yeah, there's a little bit at the end, but for the most part, I wanted to be very vocally sounding on guitar, like it was singing. And I put a lot of emotion into that instrumental, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
Oh, that's amazing. I am going to go listen to it. It's on Spotify, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Oh, I'm like, I already right now. I'm going to do that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm like, I want to hear that one. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because now that I know the story, it's even more amazing, right?
Right.
I think that's really, really, really cool. So I have a few ending questions I want to ask, but before I get to those final questions of the show, is there anything that you particularly want to share about, or something on your heart that you would like to share with our audience that's all over the place, that kind of you want to say, just that I didn't ask or that's on your mind?
No, I think recently a few musicians have asked, like, because I am involved with a few different projects, and they have said, how do you get, like, some of the projects I'm in, they're doing really well, right? Like, how do you get, like, to those kind of gigs? Is it the gear? Is it, and it's all, I think it's personality based. Everybody out there can play guitar, play drums, play bass, or sing, right? But not everybody out there is an easy person to deal with. So there's a lot of bands nowadays that do the 20-minute audition, and then they sit down and they talk to you for 20 minutes. And there's a lot of people that would pass this part of it, but as soon as you start chatting with them, the way I view it is, if you can't light a barbecue and be around someone for an hour and a half before or after a show, that's not someone that you want to share that energy with on stage either. So I think you mentioned, is there anything I can say? If there's any musician out there that just kind of just be a decent person, show up, be easy to work with, like have your own values and your own opinions on stuff. But the easier you are to work with, especially in studio situations, you'll get the call. People will call. He's easy to work with. He's flexible. He's willing to try different things instead of, nope, I like Metallica, I'm going to play Metallica. I like it, which is awesome, but let's try this because that's what the person in the studio wants to try. Let's try a little flavor of that, right? Just be open to it. Just be a good person, and a lot of things happen.
Yeah, I'm really glad you shared all of that, because I hear that a lot, but from some of the people that I work with, that sometimes people in their different bands, I go, how did one of them say it? A band is like your family. You don't always get along with them. And some people are cantankerous and all these other things. And they were lamenting, like, how do you do this? I love the music and I love the thing, but some of the people are hard to deal with. And, and that puts them in a precarious situation. So I think that's really great advice.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I think it matters, I think it does matter that we're able to be cooperative and creative and friendly and competent all together. It is possible.
For sure. And just leave the ego at the door and realize, like, hey, look, there's some people that be like, well, let's try this. They're like, no, I don't want to try that. I want to do it my way. I'm like, I get that, but let's try your way, then my way, then her way, then his way. Let's all try it, record it, listen back, see what we think. And if everybody's open to doing that, then you're in a really good place. But if somebody's putting up walls or boundaries for zero reason, but that's probably someone I wouldn't be, on stage with these days.
Yeah. I think that's really good discernment there. So there's some really good advice.
Yeah.
So our final two questions of the show, which are my favorite questions. The first one is, what is the most memorable food you've ever eaten?
Ooh. Memorable food.
Well, you've traveled all around and you've had all these experiences. And so what's the most memorable food?
New Orleans, for sure. It has to be New Orleans. It's my favorite city. It's got the best music in the world, and the food down there, just the hospitality of people, right? Like I had charbroiled oysters, and when I was done, she said, can I take your plate? I said, yes. And then she looked down. She goes, oh, no, sweetheart. No, I'm not taking that plate. She went back and got some bread and said, come back and dip it in the sauce. And you know what? There's a restaurant there called, Bayona. It's in the French Quarter.
Yep.
Hands down, one of the best plates I've ever had. So I would say anything from New Orleans anything. That's definitely been my.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the final question of the show is, if we were going to put a billboard up that the entire world was going to see with your message on it, what would that message be that you would want everyone to see?
Be kind.
Be kind. I love
it. Yeah. And the outer experiences are a perfect reflection of your internal, maybe in small print in the corner, but just be kind. There's a lot of division these days. There's a lot of strong opinions. There's a lot of hate. But there's also, if you look for the good, it's there too, right? So there's a lot of love out there. There's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of people working on themselves. So that would be be kind.
Be kind. I love that. That's great. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show with me today. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's been really, really good. And I'm going to listen to your music, and I'll make sure there's links to all of it in the show notes so that everybody can listen too, right?
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to Someone Gets Me. And remember to keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a mighty purpose. So go out there and let your light shine. And remember, as Chris says, be kind. Until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, this is Chris and Dianne saying, be well.
Thank you for listening. I trust you gained some valuable inspiration and information. Please join me and other visionaries in the Someone Gets Me Facebook group. Or for more information on my services and additional episodes, visit someonegetsme.com. Again, thanks for listening.